It's Lee Foster here, and welcome to this week's Revitalise Meets. It is the business focused podcast live at 5 on LinkedIn Live and also on our Revitalise Networking YouTube channel. Now, every week I have the great pleasure and privilege to be welcoming along connections that I've known for a long time, but also bringing along connections who are sharing a bit about their business, challenges, and much, much more. I've got the great pleasure to be with a lady who has been helping many people, not just in the holiday let business, but helping people scale their business to their next level. Can you please welcome with me this week, the one and only Jane Mack of Jane Mack Consulting. Jane, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Lee. Thank you for having me. That's quite an introduction there. I feel
You'd
very
think,
honoured.
you'd think I practiced that one, wouldn't you,
Oh,
really? So
absolutely.
thank you so much for joining us this week again, Jane. And you've had a lot going on since our last conversation over nearly 8 months ago, in fairness. It's
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
a while
lots,
ago.
yeah. hmm
Can we kick things off by finding out about the story so far and where you are with your business at the moment? Would you mind just sharing a bit of backstory and where you are with your business at the minute?
Yeah, of course. So as you said, Lee, my business is Jane Mack Consulting, and I'm a coach and a consultant for the holiday let industry. So that is helping holiday homeowners and property managers in their businesses to help them grow. Um, the reason why I'm doing this and how I got to here was because my husband and I actually had a property management and holiday letting company for 7 years over here on the Isle of Arran before we sold it to a UK national company. And after working for them for a few years, I came out of the business and I decided to go at it alone again and work for myself. Um, had a few different routes really. I went down the social media route, realized that I loved the theory behind social media. I loved the training and Facebook ads. And then I started doing it and realized, oh, I don't like this. So that didn't bode well for a business. um, so yes, I thought, well, do you know what? I've had a business for 7 years. I had it before for selling it. I'm going to take my business knowledge, and I did like business consulting. To be honest, it was one of those things I struggled to overly get it to work, and I know because the whole passion wasn't behind it, to be honest. And I was kind of just doing it with mums for mums in business. And I realised last year that actually the one thing that was missing was the fact that I needed to go back into my holiday letting industry because that's where my passion was. And that's what kind of what I miss doing. So it was one of those things when you sort of start doing something and then you kind of divert your way around and you find actually where you're supposed to be. So I niched way back down last year into holiday letting, and yeah, this has been my focus now since then.
Have you found that? And thanks for sharing that, Jane. It's a great journey to hear, talking about social media there as well,
Mhm.
and niching it back to what you've done best.
Yeah.
We go on a bit of a path of, what's the word I'm thinking of here? We digress and look at other
Yes.
areas and things as
Mhm.
well. But
Mhm.
from the holiday let industry, before I go on to the sort of the next part of today's interview,
Mhm.
what have been the biggest challenges of holiday lets? Has it changed dynamically over the past sort of 12 months or
Yeah,
what?
so I think at the moment, I mean, obviously there was a massive boom, after COVID and the pandemic. Everyone started to move again. Everybody was like staying abroad, was staying like in the UK. Nobody was going abroad, so the industry just went on fire. People were buying up holiday lets. They were starting to let. Everyone was booking. Prices were going higher, and it was a really, really thriving, industry. Obviously that has all changed. The economy's changed. People are now going abroad again. Obviously our sort of the economic crisis, as they call it, at the moment, in terms of people's money they've got available, has all changed. So now bookings are slower and they're less, and there's a bit of panic out there, but there's still things happening. So it's a wee bit uneven, a wee bit unstable at the moment. Um, but I say, that's probably a big challenge for some of the businesses because they're a wee bit unsure of, well, what bookings am I getting in? And for the property management companies, it's, am I going to get more properties in my portfolio? Will I get the bookings in to make, get the money for my owners that I'm looking after? So there are challenges out there at the moment. I'm just hoping it's just going to start stabilizing quite soon.
Do you find there's a lot of people now who wanting to travel away, they want to go further afield, or is the holiday industry or people traveling and doing the overnight stays, are they getting longer? Are they staying for a week, or is it shorter periods?
There's a lot of short breaks and a lot of more last minute breaks. One of the things I noticed was the booking window has really got much smaller. So when people used to book a year in advance or 6 or 8 months in advance, it's now down to maybe a month in advance, and for sometimes maybe down to weeks in advance, because they're just waiting to see, well, what money have I got available? Well, what are we able to do? So that's changed, and yet people. I mean, it's quite varied. I think if you're operating in the industry, you need to be as flexible as you can be, because some people are like, do you know what, I'm going to take 3 short breaks a year. I can't afford a 2-week one all in one go. More short breaks. And people are, you're finding now there's more, obviously due to remote working, there's a lot of people can actually, do you know what, I can actually go away somewhere, but I can work while I'm there. So they're looking for places that can, they're set up to allow you to have a good desk and a workspace that they can actually work from, a strong Wi-Fi signal, things like that too. And being that flexible will encourage all these other workers in and these other travelers in. So I think at the moment, what we were used to just being, the families, the standard sort of school weeks and the short breaks out with, I think we've got to be much more flexible now and allow for the likes of the remote workers. A lot of female travelers, a lot of people are now traveling alone. You need to accommodate for that. So there's lots of things people can do, and the trends are changing all the time in terms of how people are traveling now.
Do you know what's really interesting? You mentioned there about corporate traveling instead of just holidays for families.
Yeah.
People, especially in the corporate industry, when maybe go and stay away in hotels or have a corporate account with them as well, we've got like of many other options to go out there and use these sort of wonderful homes and cottages or apartments, etc. Do you find there's a shift there now as well? People traveling for business a lot more now?
I think there's been a lot of, it kind of stopped for a while, I think, after the pandemic, because everybody could go online and everybody could go by Zoom. I think there's a now shift. People are now getting back. They've all starting to get back out there. Everyone's fed up of that, aren't they? Not everybody wants to do all their work every day, always by Zoom. So they actually quite enjoy going out to meet the people in person. So I think people have now shifted out towards that. So places are now able to accommodate for that. Whether it's just a single traveller or maybe it's a couple of people from a company, being able to give them a place that they can stay if they're travelling around. And sometimes it's cheaper to, it can be cheaper to go self-catering than to book 3 hotel rooms for like 3 nights. It's actually easier to put somebody into accommodation, but also for them, it's more comfortable. They've got a living space as well as maybe an outdoor space as well. So it can be actually much more beneficial for them.
Brilliant. It's a good point to read on that, because I think I traveled a lot when I was in the travel industry. I did a lot of overnight stays, but predominantly I used apartments or holiday sort of lettings very, very on a small percentage.
Yeah.
The majority of the time I had accounts with likes of many hotel main chains, etc. as well. We've talked a bit about your industry there, but what's been the biggest challenge for you in your business over the past sort of 12 months, and how have you overcome that challenge to turn it into an achievement if you have that?
Yeah, I would say for me, the biggest challenge, probably even over the last couple of years, has been the fact that my last business was an office in a central location. So it was a bricks and mortar business, and people walked in off the street and they asked about my services, and I was just there as one big advert sitting there for all the eyes to see. And all of a sudden, I am now in a business which is online. And that is very, very difficult. It's very different. And it's been a huge learning curve, that learning the online space and learning, how do I put myself out there in front of people? What platforms do I go on? And then becomes that, well, actually, I need to do networking as well. And so, where do I network? And obviously, I've networked with you, which is fantastic, because I've got options of in-person events and online events. And no, Lee has not paid me to say that, anything like that at all, I promise. But that, I've been finding the things that work for me. So it's been, I think that's the biggest challenge, is learning that online world, how you operate an online business, because that was completely new to me, completely. And I think at the beginning, obviously, when we came out of the whole pandemic and the world was online, it was a big happening space and everything was going on. But all of a sudden, it's just so busy there now, and it's like trying to be seen or knowing the best ways to go. So for me, my challenge has been really trying to find out where my sort of ideal clients are. How do I get under the eyes of them? And then, I have moved a bit. So I said I've become much more about doing more networking, doing things like trying to get on other people's podcasts, doing speaking events to actually get physically out there rather than it just being a social media thing. So I'd say my achievements at the moment would be that I've got a couple of speaking events in my industry. So I was asked to be on a summit last year, so that was really good. And then I'm doing another one in Barcelona in May, which is fab because I've never been to Barcelona, so that would be lovely. So that's right, on stage in front of all the people who I would love to work with. So to me, that's been one of my big achievements, is was to get that. Since last year, I thought I need to get some speaking gigs, and just getting myself out there in other places other than social media.
And well done in regards to, like, it's always a harder sort of hurdle to get over when you're looking at trying to get your name out there and starting to speak on an audience and a stage, etc. as well. What topics do you focus on when you're speaking? Is it a certain specific area that you'll cover?
Yeah, so and obviously that this event, there's like loads of different speakers, so we're trying to get obviously a good range of topics for the attendees. So my topic, because I've got lots of different topics I'll talk about, but this specific one is all about owner relationships, because one of the cornerstone basically of your holiday letting industry are your owners, because without owners you have no properties to let. So I always say that my last business was built on relationships. It's a big passion of mine, is that how you work with your owners and how you overcome challenges with them and deal with the difficult owners, and different strategies you put in place to make sure you build those really strong relationships to keep those owners with you year on year. And to me, those relationships lead to revenue. So that's what I'm talking about in my talk in May.
Love that. It's more like account management in regards to sales. People always look for the sale and opportunity, but forget about the account management. And those galvanizing those business relationships is so important, because you've got to keep them happy. You've got to keep the communication flowing. And I think people forget about the owner relationship to make sure that they have what they need.
Oh gosh, yes. And it's I mean, obviously your guest relationships are really important as well, but that can be a whole different topic in itself. So yeah, for me, the owner one is because those owners are the people that brings you your recurring revenue in that industry month on month. Those are the people, if they stay with you year on year, those are the people that can refer you to other owners if they know of somebody, because you've got a relationship with them. So it really stands you in good stead having that strong foundation of your owner relationships.
Thanks very much for sharing that. I think that's so important to remember that about that sort of relationship side of it. And it's funny because you mentioned just in that sort of the last little bit that we talked about there is the challenge with social media was online and adapting. And what I like to ask all my guests is how they've adapted their business. But I guess, are you finding that balance now between this hybrid world that we live in? Are you utilizing online and in person together?
I'd say I'm probably still more online. For me, logistics from where I live is an issue. And being on an island with ferries, and just having 2 young children and having schools to deal with it. So it is quite hard, because for me to go to an event, it is a whole day away from me. And so it takes a lot of planning and organising. So for me to go to maybe an industry event, which is in London, of which there's lots of, that's a 3-day away. That's overnight accommodation for 2 to 3 nights. So it becomes a huge expense plus a time issue, where some people say, oh, great, I'm going to this event. I just jumped in the train at 6 o'clock in the morning, spent the day in London and got the train home. That doesn't happen for me. So, so I have to, whilst I would love to do more of those, it's logistics is an issue there. But I'd go to the ones as best as I can and try at least every month to get to something in person. So I'm actually speaking to people and meeting people in person. I just started my podcast last June, which is just for the holiday let industry. So it's called Grow Your Holiday Let Business. So it kind of does what it says in the tin. I don't go for fancy titles. I'm just pretty much what it's all about. No messing about there. And for that's opened me up to connecting with a lot of people in the industry, because I will have guests on from all across, like service providers, people who provide technology in the industry, and all different types of things. And that has really grown my network, and plus helps put me in front of other people through the podcast. And I like doing that. I'd rather do a podcast and put it out there rather than write a social media post. I quite happily talk it through. So that, so doing things like that to me has really helped. And just, there's that continual learning about who's my ideal client, what do they need, what's their problems, and just adjusting things as and when you're coming across, because as the business grows, and it's only been going really since last February, my offers are going to change and how I do things are changing, but it's as I learn sort of all about your clients. And as the more people you work with, and you discover more things, so you adjust and adapt to it as well.
That's interesting you say that. And also, I like the way you just mentioned that, give credit where credit's due, is actually looking at the mindset you've got from an investment into your day of working on the business than working in the business. I guess that's the way you have your mindset when you're traveling from, from where you live, and you get in the ferry and you come to the mainland, I'm going to call it that way. Is that class as like an investment of you working on your business? Is that the mindset you have?
Yeah, I've always, it took me a while in my last business to realize that actually it's okay to do networking and things, because actually that is part of your marketing strategy. It used to be, I used to think, oh, I don't have time for this because I'm not sitting at my desk, or I'm not at a property, therefore I'm not working. So I have shifted in that thinking. So I have, but the other good thing about it is, on that day, if I have to travel for a day, it is amazing just how much work I get done on the ferry there and back. Change of scenery, change of location, sitting somewhere different. I can do so much. But even then, I sometimes think, you know what? I've always wanted to listen to this podcast or that podcast. I'll sit and do that on the ferry or on the train. And that's a chance to say, do you know what? I'm not at my desk, but actually I'm going to catch up and listen to these things, and gather lots of wee nuggets of information from other places. So, although I'm away, I'm still doing things, but it's that, as you said, is that investment amount. It's part of the strategy. The marketing strategy has actually been out there.
Yeah. I think that's important. It's your brand recognition, getting your brand out there. It's your personal brand that's out there.
Yeah.
It's also that mindset, looking at it from a marketing strategy point of view, how you're getting out there, how you're being active, how you're being visible, all these things. What we're going to do as well, just if anyone's watching this on LinkedIn, just a little reminder, and you see the comment area, please pop a little question there if you want to. We can ask Jane that as well. But I will be adding a website link to Jane's website on the chat area fairly shortly, and I'll drop in there the name of that podcast series of Grow Your Holiday Let Business. I'll drop that in there in the comments area as well. You'll probably only find it on the LinkedIn, maybe not on the YouTube, but you will find it in the comment area below the video if you're watching this today. But please feel free, fire in a comment if you're listening in, or if you hear something you really like, make a comment on that as well. Sorry about that, Jane. I thought you'd make it.
Absolutely.
So we've gone through adapting it, but from a business perspective, you've adapted to your environments really well. What would be your top 3 tips, either from your industry, your sector, or for business in general, that you would share with people out there who are watching this, maybe that were in startup mode, or they're well established, etc., or they are in the holiday industry, holiday let industry? What would be your top 3 golden tips to them today?
I'd say my 3 tips from the industry, but I'd say it's more for people who are working in the industry. But I say these probably could be applied to any business anyway. So I would always say, firstly, always allow yourself time to work on your business. So you can plan stuff and you can review what's happening. Quite often in the holiday let industry, we are running around from property to property. We're dealing with housekeeping, with guests, with maintenance, and we get pulled into the day-to-day activities that the business side gets shifted to the side. And even if you've planned to do a day of maybe marketing or something, it's the first thing that's going to go when something comes up. Oh, that's not important. It's always the one that gets less prioritized over. So I think you need to allow yourself to do that, to actually give yourself a time to work on your actual business, because otherwise it's very hard to take it forward, or you're taking it forward, but there's no plan or strategy. You're just kind of winging it, which a lot of people do in the industry. We just wing it for quite a while. So definitely always allow yourself that time. Second thing I would say is, be open to change, like change in your processes, because as your business changes and grows, your processes are going to have to change with it. And quite often we get stuck in that way of, well, we've always done this for housekeeping. This is how we've always managed our properties or our guests. But as your business grows and as the market changes, we have got to kind of to follow what's happening in the market. Then we need to make those changes. And quite often, because we're not working on our business, that we don't make the changes. So there's a connection between the two there. And yes, you need to accepting that things will change, and it's okay to change. We need to change as things grow. Third thing I would say is, we're not meant to do this alone. And I know there's certainly for property managers out in the industry, there's a big piece of, who do I ask? Where do I go to? How to make this easier? What can I use? And out in this industry, there's now hundreds of technology out there, which is amazing, which they've now, it's constantly evolving. So things that can make your life easier, things, be things you can put in place, whether it's a property management system, or it's a system for housekeeping, or it's an app, or whatever it is. There's loads of things now that people can be using. There's these resources. and there's support out there as well. There is support out there. So I would say, don't do it alone. Invest in your business, invest in yourself to actually make those moves forward rather than always struggling at it alone. Because it can be lonely as well. When you think, oh, I have nobody to bounce ideas off, and I've got nobody to ask questions to. Don't do it alone. Find your network of people and find people that you can help support you and make those investments.
It's so important when you talk about that. It's like from the time of working on your business, so many business owners out there who don't take the time to look at it. Time is the biggest commodity that we have as business owners. And every person I speak to, what's the biggest challenge? They'll go, time. And the second one, I got this right, is adapting to change within your business, adapting to environments, adapting to those changes that you want to make for the purpose of being positive. And then also the third one is delegation. The people who know what they're doing in the business and the networks you have around you as a resource, collaboration.
Yeah.
I think those are 3 great points to top tips for anybody who's listening into this. And what I'll do is, whilst we're chatting away here, everybody, I will drop them into the comment areas. So you've got all the information just typed in there as well.
Yeah.
If that's okay. And
Absolutely.
you'll see it in the sort of LinkedIn post. Thank you for sharing that. That's really important to have that. The next part of it I like to look into is personal development. And I read a lot of books, or I listen to a lot of audible books that are on there, either when I'm driving, and you mentioned before, when you're traveling on a train or boat or something like that, you can hook yourself into your headphones and just listen in and disappear for about an hour or two. What personal development, you talked about working on your business, but do you allocate any time to your personal development for you to get better, just for yourself, to take time for you?
Yeah, probably don't do as much as I should, but I do love like mindset books. I love all that stuff, right? And I love to listen to podcasts on it. So that'll be my thing when I'm out. If I go for a walk, I'll listen to things like that. And I love things like money mindset. I love all that stuff. I've got a few different books on those. I do tend to read them more in the evening. And I have, actually last week I did have a few days where I actually thought, I'm going to actually read a chapter of this in the morning, actually during a work time. And I thought, oh, look at me, bad girl, taking time out to read a book. But you know what I mean? That to me, I thought, well, no, this is all part of me and my mindset and my own personal work. So I'm actually at the moment reading Denise Duffel Thomas's book called Get Rich Lucky Bitch. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
She said it. She said it, everybody. She said
it. Oh, then I swear live on air. But I've read a few different money mindset books and things, and I enjoy this one, and it just it's one of those ones that I think, yep, absolutely. Oh my God, you so get me. Oh, you're so absolutely what she says. And she said something actually in one of them, which I read last week. And she said, when she talks about things that she realized from her past and different things in her business, and one of the ones she realized was she was vulnerable to other people's opinions and made her business decisions based on that. And I thought, oh, that's me. Oh my gosh. And it was a line that stuck in my head over this last week. That's all. Every time I think of things, I think, yeah, that's right. It's not, because that was me. And when I first went in that sort of digital online world, I was so vulnerable to what everybody else said. So I thought, well, I need to do that because I don't know how to do digital online world. I need to do that. Or I'll change because of that. I'll make this change. I'll do that. And actually, I didn't need to do any of it at all. I wasn't actually doing what I need to do or thinking for myself because I was being vulnerable to these other people's opinions. So that sort of, I'd say, something that didn't realize was doing it till now. And it's something I'm very, very aware of now, making decisions and and why I make the decisions and am I making them for the right reason. So so I could very much relate to what she was saying in that. So but I love it when other people say it. Sometimes think, oh my God, that's it. I never really thought of it like that. And that's what I quite like about these books.
I'm reading one at the minute myself. It's about committing to what you decide to do.
Right.
And commit to it. Because the world of procrastination kicks in when you start to think about something or you think about it too long. I like the book from Mel Robbins, which is the 5-second rule.
Oh, right. Okay.
And let's say you count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and just just do it.
Yeah.
Just don't overthink it. If you're going to do it, just do it. And I love the way she says, get up in the morning and go for it. Just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. I'm up and ready to go.
That's it.
And I think a lot of people out there, even in business or just in a role, will overthink it. And before you know it, when you overthink it too much, it took too long, you've missed the moment.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, but it's funny you say about committing because I don't know if there's a coach called Laura Craven. she's from Glasgow based, but she now lives out in, I think she's in Canada actually. And I've kind of seen some of her masterclasses and stuff and read some of her things. But one of the things she says is, never say, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You say, I'm committing to do this, I am committing to, because when you say the word commit, it's a completely different meaning than, yeah, I'm going to do it. Because I'm going to do it means, yeah, I'll never actually do it. But I commit to it means, actually, I'm committing to this. So that's another one that kind of stuck in my head from something she said in the masterclass once. I thought, yeah, I commit to that. Mm-hmm.
It's having that positive mindset of thing, right? That's my positivity. That's what I'm going to make it happen. You know,
Yeah.
I think when you start manifesting and start positively thinking about how that's going to happen, things start happening around you.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely.
Massively start to happen. And
yeah,
I've spoken to many people I've spoken over the years have just thought about it. But again, I think I love the part of it of committing to it as well, which I think is extremely important. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
That's nice to really have a look at that a bit further. For your business, then, what's the next steps for you, and where do you see your business within the sort of, let's say, the first 6 months, and then let's see, would that be different in 12 months' time? So where would you see it in 6 and then 12?
So at the moment, my big focus is I'm trying to do a lot of the sort of growing my audience and do a lot more SEO, getting very much more about being found online. So my focus is very much on LinkedIn and YouTube. So I'm moving my podcast to YouTube, which has been a big learning curve, but I'm getting there. But it's about putting a presence there rather than normal social media. And more as well because you remain there for a lot longer rather than just being lost after sort of 20 minutes on social media. But so I'm trying to really focus a lot on that side of that SEO and get my head into that whole being out there and be much more visible that way. I would like to create, maybe I'd say not in the next 6 months, probably after the next 6 months, that would be my sort of create some courses that I can then start doing that out through YouTube as well. I have ideas about them at various lengths and stages that are in my head. And that's something I'd like to do as well, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that maybe they haven't got the budget for one-to-one support, but actually see if they got a course, something they could just work at in their own time, maybe over the winter months, then that's another option for them. So I'm just trying to give people a range of options depending on the stages they're at in business, but also just, the budget they have for to take things forward. Because people who may be starting out might just need, I just need something to watch or something to take away that I can just take some points from it and put into action and do it in their own time. So that's another thing I'm looking at. So yes, and obviously hopefully any more speaking gigs would be great in the industry.
And is that within the next 6 months, or is that within the next 12 months, you think, and to really sort of compile all that together?
I say the courses would be the 12 months because there's a lot to kind of get to think about, to plan out and to do. I'd say in the 6 months, this is where I want to get everything onto YouTube. I've got another batch of recordings for my podcast going out, recording the end of May. So they'll go out for the summer. So that's going to take that side of it. And that once again will continue to go onto YouTube. But I think just behind the scenes, I'll start working on the courses, but they'll not be out for another 12 months. So I kind of want to think I've got a good suite in 12 months, a good suite of offers there of one-to-one plus courses and take from there.
It's an interesting fact of putting the plans of action together and taking action on, which you just mentioned there as well, is you've got to set out your goals and aspirations that you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And I think doing it in bite-sized chunks, it's something that's worked for me for this year as well. And the way the focus is driven and relaunching Revitalise meets as well. This is the 3rd episode, so it's exciting to bring this to life again. But again, like you said, it takes time to maybe 12 months down the line.
Yeah.
And especially 6 months, you can turn around sort of like your podcast channel fairly quick.
Yeah.
You've got to get the audience engaging into it, haven't you, really?
Yeah, so that's where the sort of getting that engagement and visibility is, SEO is quite a big thing that I'm working on at the moment. And I've been learning about it more from my website as well. And so hopefully I can try and link a blog into the website, which will link to the podcast, that you sort of kind of link everything in together. So, but it's a new thing, so it's all learning, but that's my kind of priorities over the next 6 months, and then aim with building out this suite of offers for people.
Brilliant. And for everybody who's watching and listening to this, either on YouTube or LinkedIn Live for us as well, many people might be asking, I know I'm thinking it, what's a good referral for you? I mean, what is a great referral for Jane Mack, or somebody they can introduce you to, either start the conversation or somebody from your sector or from industry? Who would it be, or what would it be?
I would say anyone who, like holiday home owners who are looking to start some people who just need to know where to start to get into it, or even holiday homeowners they've been doing it for a while, but they maybe need a fresh pair of eyes in their business, or anyone like property managers who are managing multiple properties and they're just at that stage of, I need somebody to come into my business, fresh pair of eyes, look at it, how else can I grow? So really looking at the homeowners or the property managers would be a great referral.
So I've actually just popped that straight into the chat area as well. So on YouTube, you can see it there. So referral for Jane is holiday let owners, property managers, and homeowners that are looking in that sort of area as well. And I've also dropped in the podcast channel, Grow Your Holiday Let Business. I've put the website in there as well. So that should all be showing either on the YouTube or the LinkedIn. If it's not, I'll go back into LinkedIn and add those in there as well for later on this afternoon. It's interesting to see from that as well. And I think referral is so important because many people need to know who your target audience is.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people forget about doing that in networking in general, Jane.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, we do. Everyone just gets so broad in the conversation that sometimes we then forget to actually say, well, actually, who are you looking for? Who can I refer you? What's the type of person you're looking for? So, yes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, for me, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. We've really got a good amount of time to really learn a bit more about where you are at the minute, your business, and how we can help each other, which is really what this is all about. So for me, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I really appreciate it. And join me this week, Jane.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's always lovely to chat, Lee. Always great to chatting about stuff.
It's always good to talk.
It's good to talk. It's good to talk, indeed.
Good to talk on that one.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody who's watched and listening to us this week. And don't forget, we're live at 5 on LinkedIn Live once a week on a Tuesday at 5 o'clock. And next week, I've got the great pleasure to be welcoming along Tony Gordon from Changing Your Mind. He's going to be delving into his business and how he's been making a cause and a great effect to many business owners for mindset, drive, and focus for their business personally and in business as well. So please join us next week. Stay tuned. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can be kept up to date of what's coming up in the schedule. We've got many interviews lined up over the next 12 to 15 weeks. So every Tuesday, live at 5 on LinkedIn Live and also on my YouTube channel, you can hear me welcoming along one of our wonderful guests and fabulous, powerful business connections from the Global Business Network as well. For myself and from Jane, we wish you all the very best. And thanks again for watching and listening. And we'll see you next week at 5 o'clock live on LinkedIn Live. Thanks very much, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye for now.